FunPlus，我觉得他们队伍就是前中期打得特别好的队伍，就是我们打他们的话要小心他们前中期对我们的进攻。我觉得我们最近下路打得还算稳定的原因，就是因为硬普他最近状态恢复的特别好，然后打 FunPlus 下路的话，我觉得就跟他们发育吧，发育就行了。
Makes perfect sense. Imp has recovered here, and in this series, JDG have recovered in game number 2, equalising 1 apiece. Clement Chu, Jake Asterix, Penko, that's enough of the pleasantries out of the way. This is JDG's miracle run. Clement, it's continuing again.
It's basically down to this best of 3, and I have to say, JD Gaming had a lot of outplays in this series so far.
True.
The team fight around Dragon and the early game slaughter that happened in the bot side really showcased the individual abilities for JD Gaming to step up and play, and we're seeing a contrast between FPX, which I think are making mostly all the right plays. They're just getting outplayed during the moment. So there's two contrasting themes right here, and also the late game versus early game focus from FPX, late game for JD Gaming.
Let's not forget how this game started as well. The attempt of vertical jungling, the attempt of the red buff steal, and through that invade, everything kind of came to a point where you're like, okay, where does Flawless go from here? Well, straight towards the mark, which is on the top side of the map. And maybe it's different this game because FPX are back on blue, and of course no substitutes there as well.
We've seen blue side win out both times, and it's been the far more dominant side in the playoffs so far.
Yeah.
One of the most important reasons, like Tabe was talking about, was you have to ban Silas. That was actually the first time Silas was unleashed from all of his burdens and managed to find his way into the actual drafting phase. So I think with teams really just shifting their positions over towards the blue side, we really have to look at the flex picks that the top laners and the junglers and the mid laners share. And I think that's where FPX is so powerful in their draft. I do expect them to pick the blue side this time around, and between GimGoon and Doinb, they actually share 8 champions. That's really unheard of with the number of flex picks they have. So I can list some of them for you. It's the Silas Poppy, Renekton, Sion, Vladimir. They all play these champions. Urgot is one of them as well. I believe Aatrox too. So it's so difficult to draft against FPX in the blue side, and I really do see them as one of the strongest blue side drafting teams in the LPL.
I don't know if you mentioned Kled, but that's good enough for me anyway. I think in this series, however, yes, blue side has been dominant so far in the 2 games that we've already seen, but for JDG, their ability to adapt the draft was very good in that second game. We saw the Morgana banned away, which Doinb absolutely isolated Yagao on, and their ability to get that final pickup of the Syndra, have a very good laning phase against Doinb's Rise, and put Yagao in such a good position where Doinb wasn't able to get free of the shackles created by the Syndra and move across the map with Tian, which we normally see of FPX's playstyle.
The basic game strategy for JD Gaming is still the same. You shut down Doinb, you make sure he cannot participate in dives. Last time they threw the Syndra in his face, this time they still have the Zoe and the LeBlanc to go for that same strategy. So I think it's been a big matchup between mainly the junglers for freeing Doinb in the lane.
Very true.
In terms of the matchups themselves, I actually felt like Yagao has been doing quite well in making sure that Doinb just isn't all over the map at the same time. It's really been down to Tian and Flawless, and they're a duel to see who can then take their mid laner outside of the lane.
And although I know Raz didn't agree with me on this, but I saw Yagao in playoffs. I saw him as one of the weaker members of JDG, considering how Flawless has been playing, considering how Zoom has just been such a highlight on this team. Getting a good look at the bottom lane at 15 there for LvMao and Imp, and so far so good. Clement, what is the actual stat we're looking at there, sir?
Both Imp and LvMao have kills at 15 recorded at 7. So they've been very busy in the early game finding those kills particularly. However, we do see a lower kill participation rate for LvMao, so they are playing around Imp a little bit more rather than their main initiator in LvMao and having him roam around the map.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because in game number 1, I know that after that Tabe said, well, LvMao was on protection duty for the Tahm Kench. In game 2, he was on the Brom, but there was still openings there for him to actually move considering the lane. In game 3, I asked that same question, whether LvMao will get a pure roaming champion like the Alistar that we see a lot of the time on him, or maybe something like the Fiddlesticks, and enable him even further to maybe boost up his stats, but also get JDG in a more favorable position.
Yeah, it's kind of rare to see LvMao continuously playing protection duty.
Without mobility boots, of course.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a bit sad for me. I like LvMao. He's like a really fun player. If you want to watch a support that is very explosive and plays crazy stuff, LvMao is your go-to guy. One of the highest kill participation, sees more action at 15 minutes than basically any other support in the LPL so far, and he's risky. He's risky. That's why I love him.
It's an understatement. Yeah.
He does like to gamble a lot. The traditional LPL skirmish in the top side, what happens is that every single person tries to get there in time, and the first support to get there typically does win the fight for the team. That first support almost always is LvMao.
It's LvMao, yeah. We know Chris roams a lot as well. We know that someone's typing there. He's like, oh, I'm not sure if I should still go for JDG. Yeah, that's a big call as well.
Okay, now that one says Imp Mommy is coming. So I think that's an Imp fan. I'm pretty sure that's an Imp fan.
Either that or that's actually Imp's mother. I don't know.
I don't think so. I'm not sure. Maybe.
Maybe. Not yet. All right. Well, look, Imp may have some fans. I know that a lot of fans will be growing towards him. As through playoffs, we've already mentioned a couple of times that he's just playing some of his best League of Legends here, considering how the regular season went. But JDG, all members would be going for that as well, as I think someone else is betraying FPX.
Yeah, that's FPX Crisp. You can see him with the the pink hair, excuse me. They did change all of their hair colors after securing the first seed.
That's right.
And their bot lane has been super explosive as well. They were known as a 2v2 kill lane, and they were the first ones to play Kog'Maw and Braum in the lane. So I want to see if they show us a couple more surprises.
Let's jump into game number 3, because already there's been some change-ups. Red side Silas ban, Morgana's gone as well as Lysandra. We still see the double 80 carry ban towards Imp with the Jarvan now in the first rotation, and the Rise coming through. Now that is a surprise.
So they still have a lot of switching opportunities on FPX's side, but I felt like they could have secured Rise later in the draft. It's not really a strong pick for JD Gaming. It's not a pick that they found success on so far. So I feel like this is just kind of concealing their options. They want to flex pick early, and they're most likely going to lock in something for the bottom side quite soon.
Of course, GimGoon can pick up that Rise as well, as to what we were alluding to. I'd be surprised, however. But still, again, you know, let's find out, because the Rise didn't really get off the ground in game number 2 for FPX. Another try, another attempt here available. JDG steal away the Galio, and Flawless gets his lease in nice and early. This feels like a very different series, despite what we've already seen.
JD Gaming going back to comfort. These are some of the highest win percentage champions that they have on the roster. Galio for the engage. It's also a flex pick for Yagao to pick up, and Flawless has been known as the master of Lee Sin. Probably mechanically the best Lee Sin that we have in the LPL.
Ooh, that's a big call, Clement. I'll agree with that, though.
He had a flawless
it's all right. Go on. Go on.
He had a flawless split where he never lost when he picked the Lee Sin, so he does have that pedigree with him.
Let's be fair. He tried to set up another flawless performance, though, on Imp on the Ashe, which gets picked second time in a row. This time with the Galio paired up, as you already gave away the Braum, you already left it over to the wind of Crisp. Also dealing with a Rek'Sai here from Tian, so if he doesn't have his Jarvan, the Rek'Sai is next best champion. Going back to the comfort, the stylistic choices here for both teams.
I really love what FPX has drafted so far. You can see the Kog'Maw ban, by the way. But FPX, this 3-man is insane when they start skirmishing.
Yeah.
The auto attack resets on Rek'Sai makes sure that you get the concussive blows so much faster. There's a lot of follow-up. The Rune Prison, every single one of these champions has single target hard crowd control. And if they get roaming, it's so deadly. We're really looking for Tian to get an early gank onto Yagao and get this trio snowballing.
Because you know that Yagao's not going to be on his Syndra and FPX. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it has to be Zoe.
Zoe, yeah, in this composition, look how dangerous that could be. Especially with the Galio and LvMao's ability to roam now back on the map a lot more. We'll see. 7 seconds. FPX, don't do this again. Come on. We fixed it. It's the Aurelia, meaning the Zoe. Yes, Clement is available.
That's an interesting one. So the Rise is considered as somewhat of a counter pick to the Zoe, but in this instant, I think Zoe is such a safe pick. When you're going up against Rek'Sai, you're going up against Braum, you really need something that can keep its distance. And I think Zoe actually does very well with the Ashe as well. It's a very strong catch composition. So I'm actually quite surprised that they let Zoe through the ban picks.
Yagao's best champion by far, and the early win rate is what came through.
Maybe Rise is just a flex.
Oh, Clement, okay.
That could be possible.
I mean, what's open then? Is the LeBlanc there? Yes, it is. But what else do you run? He doesn't play LeBlanc. That's
he could just
exactly
play
right.
play some bruiser. Like there's a ton of them that he
Aatrox.
plays. Yeah, no, but it looks like the Rise is still going to go mid.
We'll see. 10 seconds to find that out. GimGoon, game 1, exceptional Kennen. Game 3, let's see if we get the repeat performance.
I see that's why the reason FPX selected Rise for the first pick. They just wanted to make sure there was no counter pick onto the Kennen. Outside of Rise, not a lot of champions actually work against Kennen. He always just wins his lane.
This doesn't strike me as a Zoom champion, though. With such a big champion pool, this does.
There we
and
go.
something that we oversaw was, honestly, Yorick getting banned out time and time again. I guarantee you it's this. Let's go. Zoom's Yorick is by far, I'd say, the best in the league.
Yeah, and I have to say that Yorick has been the go-to top lane pick so far in playoffs. Most selected, most drafted, and has a blazing high win rate.
Yeah.
A lot of ranged champions just can't dent him. Once he gets that sustain with his Q, you just can't shove him out of lane, and he's almost a guaranteed split push option here. So JD Gaming, they have a much more spread out composition. There's a lot of catches that they can do, but it really comes down to the execution. The execution on the right side is insanely hard. It's very, very difficult to run this composition.
But you look at FPX and you're like, hey, let's just fight again.
Yeah, they have skirmish, and I feel like their crowd control is actually much easier to land. So JD Gaming, if they want to do it, they have to do what they did in Game 1 and Game 2, and that's outplay with the tools that they have chose for themselves. So far, they have been able to do it.
Yeah, you can hear it's deathly quiet in the arena. You're asking yourself why as the music starts back up again. It's because in this Game 3, this is the leader. This is the person who takes over in the series. You imagine if the miracle run continued for JDG, they get this game, it looks very likely, but FPX rising to new heights. The Phoenix and Doinb. That's what this team is represented by. Someone who hasn't been to the world stage. Someone who hasn't been, of course, to MSI internationally, apart from our Rift Rivals performance last year. This is a good time for FPX to solidify their lead. And with a composition that is so FPX-esque, you can see how it's going to be done. And if Doinb can get off the ground this game, then suddenly we have an FPX that looks in form.
The Phoenix is the symbol of the revitalization of Doinb and GimGoon's career. They haven't really done much with their time here in terms of the postseason. This is their best shot. They've never gone so far yet. Last time around, they did beat IG in the third place match, but that was not an advancing round. Doinb is still looking for that chance.
He is, but so is Zoom and Yagao. JDG missed out on their opportunities in 2018, and in the semi-final, as we go to Game 3, Yagao, 25 games all time, 60% win rate here on this Zoe, and Zoom's Yorick is just so darn good. The Dumpling Brothers unite to look to take down FPX. Not a manager anymore, but he's still supporting.
Get out, LGD fans.
Man,
get.
It's their Clement.
It's their
they're
stadium.
At home.
I know.
They got to provide something. Just so you can...
They had a great tweet, by the way. LGD still representing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they technically are.
Yeah.
We're going to stop and talk, though. That is a comet on Zoom, and he started with E here in this lane.
Yeah, I don't think it's that surprising. The logic is just against a ranged champion, you want a bit more poke. You're not really going to do much with Grasp of the Undying. It's actually one of the most useless runes in a ranged matchup. So, yeah, it's just so I'm not too surprised, and we've actually seen Zoom do this quite a few times. He played a lot of Aatrox with the comment as well, just to poke out on the range matchups.
Because GimGoon's opted in for the Kleptomancy as, yeah, give me some of that gold, nice and
lucky.
early.
Oh damn.
Ooh, 60. That's that's lucky. That's okay.
That's
better than
fine.
40.
I mean, GimGoon, you can tell what type of person he is. He wants instant gratification. Pops the gold sacks instantly just to see what he gets.
I mean, anyone who doesn't, I just say, you just don't,
You're not playing Kleptomancy right.
You're not playing Kleptomancy right. Has already got a couple of the spoils of war, as you know that GimGoon's going to have great sustain in this lane. I'm curious to see what happens now, because as we talked in Champ Select, the pick potential there from JDG very high, and how these lanes get ahead. Well, let's look at Flawless, because the bottom lane's pushed out. It looks like the mid lane is getting shoved in as Doinb gets such a good trade-off of Yagao, who has an early hose. Flawless is towards that bottom side, with Scuttle Crab available to take.
So we're taking a look at Zoom's runes right here, and he's actually taking Scorch as well, trying to get a lot of poke damage, but I have not seen a Morning Mist land onto GimGoon so far. Really fast with his E. He's playing the matchup perfectly, and he's got a lot of luck. He's picked up so many items. He got the Potion of Rogue as well. He's already getting his ward out.
Well, Tian's up here as well, maybe to accelerate the top lane. Not a predictable path from Tian here in this game number 3. Big change up from the jungler of FPX as Flawless is just hovering around the mid, looking for the top side himself. Tian, very good dive potential, and this is what Comet is going to take away from the dive itself.
Yeah, so the way these lanes were set up was that JD Gaming actually started out on the top side, but wait a minute, here comes the...
So it's coming nice and early. Tian does have the flash available onto Zoom. He flashes first, but responded by Tian, who doesn't get the unburrow. Now the Venomous Bite is Tian taking up the turret. GimGoon needs to get it, but Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, trade kill for Flawless, who just comes in the nick of time.
Yeah, Flawless could still look for this. Probably not. GimGoon stays well out of distance, so at least Flawless is able to pick up the return kill.
You see that, folks? That is a bucket of chicken for 39 yuan. Now, I don't know what country you're from, but that's about 8 Australian dollars. That is what victors get. And with that gank there in first blood, maybe Tian's going to have an early dinner tonight, but not if JDG are able to respond like this.
And I love the way that Tian was trying to give over the kill towards Zoom. I want to check if he actually gets it. Yep, does get that 400 gold over onto his top laner. GimGoon does go in a rather risky direction, does go forward, but gets out in the end.
So GimGoon got first blood there on the cannon. That's going to be the most important part, but Zoom able to move back into this lane and pick up some CS himself. Got the assist there, that's the difference. The top laner's not even in any capacity, while Flawless has a kill on himself, and Tian got forced out from the death. Is still a bit of CS lead ahead of this jungle, but you can see that for FPX, drafting in GimGoon into a good matchup again, they've left Doinb to the win, they've let Yagao get the shove in, and are starting to look towards the top side.
Yeah, so they're just trying to target down Zoom. They don't want him to be a split-pushing threat, and I have to say they've done a very good job in Game 1 in preventing the 1-3-1 from developing. 1-3-1 is the style for JD Gaming. They have the Dumpling Duo, they're great solo laners, and it's a way that they can drag the game late against FPX.
It's such a different playstyle where the bottom lane is untouched as well. Flawless just sticking around towards the top side, and Tian starting to shadow him. Flawless still no big advantage here in this jungle. Thank you very much. Yagao is going to get a better trade here, or rather doesn't. Paddlestar misses just by the skin, and Tian's just going to help out Doinb as he normally does. Passes through, drives by, and heads back into his own jungle.
You gotta love the early Mercury treads. Does make all the difference against someone like a Zoe.
That's true.
And Yagao was thinking, you know, I got this on lockdown. Should be exact distance, but Paddlestar goes on for a little bit too long.
Oh, Imp, not a good trade, but LvMao gets a full shield into Randolph. Justice Punch into the 80 carry. LWX is ignited down. Imp is firing again. Redemption coming down from the Zoe. Thank you very much, mid laner. That means the trade's going to go even worse.
Yeah, that was definitely a strong winning trade for JD Gaming. They force out the heal coming out from Chris, a much longer cooldown compared to the Ignite, and they should be able to push this advantage even further. Are healthier than their opponents as well. All they need to avoid is Tian coming into the mix.
At least they can see if Flawless joins in as well for JDG, because he's towards this bottom side. The Hawk Shot is going to spot out and see where Tian is, but he's towards the bottom, so he avoids vision for now. Flawless does not.
Yeah, that was only a Hawk Shot to check out the river. So that was purely for Flawless's benefit. They're trying to secure this one.
This is very good passing from Flawless. It was obviously spotted out as Imp. That's a low Ash. LWX gets 2 autos off, flashes forward. Imp has to respond as well. Justice Punch, but the Galio is chunking on down. LvMao doesn't have enough mana. Oh. He smacks him in the face. And although LvMao gets it now, Chris, supportal combat, come at me. There's one auto, but
Did he get 2?
No! He missed the Witch's Bite. Can't auto him down. Imp, the minion gets its last shot, but the last hurrah goes to the Ash of JDG.
Walks away with the 1-2v2. That was so close and on the edge. Great play by LvMao there to get the initial taunt onto LWX. If LWX managed to flash forward and get the auto attack, it should have been a done deal. FPX's bot lane should have won, but look at that taunt. Gets it picture perfect on LWX, doesn't allow him to get the auto attack off, and then Colossal smashes down on the Varus. This was a bit sad from Chris. I thought he had a good chance. He had the heal there, but if staying within the minions, that was so smart.
He gets the kill out of that. He's the real victor. He survived by a blinking health bar. And Imp's done it again. We've just got ourselves an 80 carry matchup that is looking to favor Imp in game 3. We've now got a top lane 2v2 as Tian is all 6 with Sliding Maelstrom. Defensively used again here by GimGoon. Yagao was coming up, the trouble bubble didn't land, means the situation is diffused.
And we really didn't expect that it would be the bot lane difference from FPX versus JD Gaming that would swing the matchup so heavily.
Imp, Enchanted Crystal has to be used here, but he's locked down with the Winter's Bite. Unable to follow it up. Yeah, LvMao was nearby. He's not level 6 himself. So a bit of a disadvantage for JDG's bottom lane. Arrow comes out, but there's a cleanse still in hand.
Taking a look at the trade patterns right here, JD Gaming should still have a sizable lead. Their Ignite is going to come up much sooner.
Yep.
So I expect them to play pretty aggressively at this point. And for FPX, I think one good thing that you have to mention is that they've been keeping Yagao at bay quite easily. There hasn't really been a situation where Lee Sin and Zoe can roam together and try to look for plays.
Only time was the top side of the map, and that was, as you said, easily diffused by FPX.
Yeah.
Defuse this one. FPX coming into the river as Scuttlecry will be secured once again. Crisp on the roam, doing what he does best. Blue buff being started up here, but FPX have now brought in Doinb, and the bottom lane in LWX has the push on the wave.
That's the 3-man we're talking about. All 3 of them have hard CC, and it's so easy to proc the concussive blows with these guys. So I love what they're doing. There isn't a 3-man that can match that. JD Gaming can send their jungle, their mid laner, and their support at the same time, and 100% the left side 3v3 is going to win.
Yeah. As we know, for FPX, their ability to find these small skirmishes always looks favorable for them. And being on the blue side this time, there's no need to overreach. Some more safety margin on the blue side, as we know. Infernal Dragon to speak of too. So that'll be sitting there momentarily after the first Ocean was picked up sneakily by JDG.
Really does impact the laning phase quite a bit. You can see in the bot lane, Galio hits level 6, Braum hits level 6, Braum wins out on that trade, but he's not really able to close in on anything. The Ocean Drake just means that Imp is always at full health.
Well, we'll see. Imp now getting engaged on by Tian, who gets Sonic Waved, but Flawless is just backing out of there. Imp poking down the bottom wave. Tian might actually have to leave himself. We see the side lane's big priority here for both junglers. Now, especially the bottom side around that Infernal, around the summonerless 80 carries, has been the transition.
Here comes the big fight we've all been waiting for. Tian is actually doing very well in his farmings. If you saw the first rotation, he actually took the Krugs away from Flawless and then still was able to secure his own Krugs. Now, Krugs are the single most important camp when it comes to jungle level experience, and getting both of them on the first rotation just sets you up so well for success.
It does. Blue buff, a very important camp in its own right as well, as Tian is going to have to try and force his way into this one. Doinb needs this camp, but Yagal's in there as well. Tian has to smite it away, but over the trouble bubble. Paddle start into Doinb, he gets hosed
Arrow
down.
comes in.
Arrow comes in, he flashes but not away from it in the same direction. JDG walk on into Doinb, who gets kicked back, knocked down, and knocked out. And GimGoon does it again! The surge of lightning put a fork into the power point. The same feeling erupts as FPX find another onto LvMao. Flawless gets tagged up. Tian wants a Prey Seeker onto this Lee Sin. He's blind but not deaf. Tian walking through, but unburrowing, not going to come in. This is FPX's fight, and now it's FPX's Rift Herald.
So many crazy plays just happening in that one skirmish. That was a cross-map Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming in from Imp. He nails the target even after Doinb does flash, but Doinb actually put himself in a very good position. He goaded the entire JD Gaming team to walk forward. GimGoon, again, finding a multi-man, basically full team, slicing Maelstrom to clean up the fight, and they get a 2-for-1 plus the Herald.
And Tian is just so far ahead, Clement. Look, 40 CS of his counter jungle. He even picked up a kill in that engage and the Rift Herald.
That's so Flawless style, by the way.
It's such a, well.
So the thing about Flawless that people don't really know is he has the flashiest plays when he's ahead, but on average, he actually has one of the worst experience differentials at 15 minutes. So he's a very risky type of jungler. He tries to find the solos, he tries to skip camps for ganks, and if they don't happen, he typically does wane in his influence quite a bit. That's why we've seen Flawless's best champion actually just be the Jarvan.
Who's your biggest comparison here? Is it like I'll ask that in a second, because part of the risky play was Flawless going forward for Tian, who got called out, and Doinb.
Yeah, that was actually quite close. You can see JD Gaming, their initial focus didn't go completely onto Tian. Skill shots not landing the way they wanted to. So even though they found Doinb, they couldn't finish up the second kill onto the Rex side, and then GimGoon just comes in and cleans house.
Yeah. I want to point out there, Tian actually flashed. Yeah, look how angry she is.
It's like, yeah!
Down
you go!
I wanted to point out that Tian actually flashed in front of the paddle star so that Doinb wouldn't die as quickly.
That was important.
But it's small individual plays like that that make FPX who they are. Very talented roster. And this talented roster just picked up an Infernal. Mountain soon to come. Reaping the rewards, although not as cut and dry as maybe Game 1 became, it definitely started in a similar fashion. Small gold lead for FPX.
This is the closest one that we've seen so far. A
so.
really spicy one. The start of a brand new best-of-3 matchup.
Yep.
We're going back to regular split.
No, not quite. It really doesn't feel like it.
Okay.
If it was, it would not be playing as well as he'd been playing in the last 3 series. But you're right. It is that best-of-3 format. So dead on there. We're now into that one apiece where, especially for this, I was going to ask you, now that 40 CS behind is Flawless and the Rift Herald's getting channeled down, what is the closest relation to Flawless as a jungler? And would you say like MLXG? Who do we look at to compare?
MLXG is actually fairly close, but not quite. I think MLXG is even further down the crazy hole than Flawless. Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
There really is no comparison to MLXG.
Especially for our new viewers tuning in and people that need a comparison that maybe has a bigger name behind them. At the start of JDG's spring split, we had people saying, where's Levi? What's Levi doing? Levi, a much more known name, but if you don't know Flawless, he was actually in a team with Doinb last year on Rogue Warriors, who narrowly missed out on the World's Adventure as well.
Yeah, they were so close to the final hurdle, but did get taken down by none other than JD Gaming.
Yeah,
it was actually a 3-0 in that series as well. JD Gaming actually dominated that game. So there's a lot of emotions going on between these two teams. Doinb's facing up against 2 former teammates in both LvMao and Flawless, and he's trying to kill someone.
That's right, maybe an older teammate. This time GimGoon locked into the channel. Wow, Zoom, very nice wall, or rage cage as it's so rightly called.
Oh boy, that was a Thug Life play if I've ever seen one. That was so cool. He's got the glasses on, he's just walking back like, I see what you're trying to do.
Okay. Zoom might not be as safe as we think though, because Tian's still up here, going to be tagged away. Get away from me, minion. FPX going to try and push for this top lane turret. There's no bottom lane response. There's no mid lane response. FPX have the free play here, and although turret plating has gone down, more pressure to be added into the mix.
It doesn't look like they can take it on this rotation. Yagao and Galio are both coming in. It really comes down to this next big fight. And we've been talking about both teams have massive amounts of catch potential right here. The Mountain Drake is something that you have to contend for if you're JD Gaming. Infernal plus Mountain means you have to go for the 5v5. It's all about the setup right now. And the things that I'm looking at are, number one, teleport wards coming in from Yagao. So, from Zoom, sorry. Zoom actually has 3 anchor wards right here. They have the completely inner track, and they've actually outwarded FPX in a sense because they have wards behind the enemy ward line. So I do like JD Gaming and their setup so far. I think what FPX are going to try to do, since the mid lane is so low for JD, you just try to force it. You try to force them into a fork situation.
If you find yourself Doinb before the fight even begins, Yagao comes in, good flash from Doinb, Realm Warp's there. Can he escape? Flawless lets him out, of course, because kick was used before. Doinb, flashy style, the crowd gives him the old fairy clap.
Yeah, does want to get the demolish off, but doesn't really find the chance yet. Good reaction on Flawless, kick back into an alley-oop from Yagao. Doesn't find the kill though.
No, he doesn't. Chris comes in the mid lane trying to make a kill happen. Yagao does land the sleep troll over Tian, once again going to play spoiler, or rather the door goes up. Yagao has another flash in hand too. That was Doinb's old flash, and now that he doesn't have his, the fight becomes more dangerous. But remember, double TP here for FPX. He can't get Doinb. Oh yeah, just the tippy toe apparently. He'll get back to base safely with his TP almost available.
I actually thought that landed. You could see the seagulls.
You can see his foot. Yeah. His foot was in it, but it was, you know, just testing the water.
I guess if your toes are wet, it doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't actually count. You need the entire, like, foot in.
Yeah. People say, you know, you go to the beach, you go walk along the shore. It's not really swimming, is it?
No.
No, it's not.
So we're seeing the topside matchup finally go in the favor of Yorick. This is what we typically see of the matchup. A lot of poke, a lot of kleptomancy being taken by Kennen early on.
Still far behind, though.
Later, Later, it does swing over towards Yorick's side in the split push. And for Yagao, we have to mention the last time someone allowed him to play the Zoe, it was Game 5 versus RNG, and he absolutely crushed.
He smacked him in the mouth.
Yes, he did. And Yagao is a special player when he's on Zoe because none of the counters actually work against him.
Yep.
He's willing to pick into counter picks like the Lissandra, like LeBlanc, like Rise. He takes him on headstrong. He doesn't really care about it. And it's a champion that he's really excelled on. This is the first champion that really made the world pay attention to Yagao as a player. Seeing him on this, they're going to look for a pick to set up this Mountain Drake.
He's already in a good position, has that first item and 20 CS lead. Now see if he can use it in this upcoming fight, but they're all idle towards that Pixel Brush. FPX now hovering around the Mountain Dragon. Yagao goes over the wall, but the Winter's Bite lands and exhausts the slowdown Tian, but they start up the Mountain Climber.
And it looks like Zoom's actually going to get a faster buy as well. So FPX might just walk away with the mid lane tower.
See if Zoom gets Trinity Force off this back, and he does. Now this TP is crucial, but they might not even need to burn it. Tian over the wall, Prey Seeker. Not going to take it, of course. Smite from Floors to secure the buff, while FPX go mid.
Ooh, this is a really risky siege from FPX because the arrow could come in at any moment. They do manage to walk away with it. So I would call it an even trade on both sides.
Yep.
FPX avoided disaster. JD Gaming did have the better setup. And I really like that Zoom, with the shove in the top lane, decided to back earlier. Now, just taking a look at the stats here.
Yeah,
when
what's going on
FPX
there?
take first tower... Okay. So when they take first
What-
tower, I haven't read simplified Chinese in a while. When they take first tower, their win rate is 88%.
Okay. What do you mean you haven't read simplified Chinese in a while?
Mainly I read traditional.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know you're learning new things about you. I said it last time, Clover, I'm learning new things about you. Sometimes they're bad, but that's a good one.
Never talk about the bad things.
No, we don't. It's going to be 2 items on the cannon in the top lane. Let's just re-avert attention because I like how you say that Zoom's going to be in a good position in this side lane, but I'm still looking at GimGoon and how he enters these fights because that is a Morellonomicon nice and early. He has a bounty on his head. There is big hope that GimGoon can do what he did in that very first game in that next upcoming fight.
Definitely looking for a 2 teleport up for the top laners as well. And we were talking about the team fight situations, but I do truly believe that FPX have an easier execution on what they want to do. So if they're in a sieging position, they can actually trap someone with the chains of corruption and then just fly in with the slicing.
Well, if put it this way as well, if Flawless doesn't get that perfect kickoff, Tian has an extra item on him as well with that 40 CS advantage in the jungle. Also the level there, so Tian going to feel safer with these neutral objectives. As Doinb not feeling safe right now, he gets locked in the wall. Here comes Realm Warp, he's out again! Zoom even gets half health on the way out. That is the danger of Doinb's Rise, who has had a very close call again.
I think you can see his items right now.
Ooh, good arrow. Hang on, Tian flashes forward. Can he do this, though? Here comes Hero's entrance. Oh, comes in! Tian, you're an animal. That was a beautiful outplay. Chris even coming in to help him out, but so far, so good for the jungler of FPX. LvMao has to burn the flash, and that is a Void Rush that makes you scream.
Damn, that's when you realize, wait a minute, what is this farm on Rek'Sai? Is that a bug? Is he really at 145 CS with the Black Cleaver?
Yep.
It's like, confirmed, he does have a Black Cleaver.
Because that was great from Imp. Arrow at the perfect time, but then watch this.
Imp stayed there for the fight. He saw Tian coming in, and he was like, you know what, I can probably take this on. He's like,
Take
probably
that.
wrong about that one.
You absolute punk. Now Doinb's feeling the love as well. Busting Maelstrom into the Spell Force. Doinb gets his first kill and double buff. Let's go. Righteous Glory coming up next.
Man, and this is just FPX's early mid-game coming into full drive. They are the catch kings. They really find tempo and they use priority so well. Both of those fights were underneath the enemy towers, where you don't expect those ganks to be coming in, and they're making it work.
And they get a turret off the back of it as well. 6k gold lead. FPX into the driver's seat. Now Doinb doesn't get his item, but he hasn't backed just yet. What do we have? 500 gold?
It's a lot more than that. 1,300 in the top side, and it's 2,500 gold in the jungle position. That's pretty much one full item.
That's pretty insane. And it's just a testament to how Tian plays on this Rek'Sai. Even going towards the blue buff now as he takes a Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Falls at 1,500 for the blue buff. Doinb tries to come in, but Flaws does end up securing it, which means Yagao can't pick it off. So see what FPX do here, because there's 2 members here. Chains of Corruption. They force the fight. double flash. The intimidation play is Doinb has Righteous Glory. Let's go. The kick coming back. GimGoon can't get the flank. He goes golden, but Slicing Maelstrom not available. He has to flash himself. That's an overstep from the top laner of FPX. They have to back away.
Yeah, and the fight's still going on. It's in the favor of JD Gaming right now. Can he find the pick? Nope.
Yagao, if he gets the paddle style on LvMao, he will die. No summoners available. He's still chasing it up. Doinb just stands there. Holds strong against 5. He's into the cage. LvMao gets the shield of Durand. Kick not available. In goes the supports again. Doinb at half health. Trying to get the spell force. He finds one. He'll find the other onto the jungler. LvMao now low as the Void Rush comes through. And Tian is so far ahead. FPX, when the chaos starts to burn and it starts to spread, that's what happens to JDG.
That was the 5v4, and at the end, the hit squad of Braum, Rek'Sai, and Ryze triumph on the day. Tian goes in 1v3 and pretty much picks up all 3 kills by the end right there. It was a 5v4 for JD Gaming. I didn't think that they could make it out alive, but they finally do get the plays, and this is what we were waiting for. JD Gaming, they got their outplays in Game 1, Game 2. Now it's FPX turn.
Wouldn't you be sad if you missed this? Well, we're going to replay for all of you in chat.
It was really good on the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and unfortunate for GimGoon, he did not actually have his ult up for this fight. So a little bit ambitious on the teleport here, and this was the retreat for FPX.
Yep.
Great bubble coming in from Yagao. You're looking at this and you're thinking, I don't think FPX are in a right position, but they hold the door. Chris stays right here and makes sure that JD Gaming can't actually pass through the ramp. He plays a really crucial role here, and it does allow the comeback for Tian to go right in amongst the backline carries. He's going in 1v3 with Doinb forcing on the front.
He's so far ahead. Tian is an animal. That was insane. He's 2 levels ahead of Flawless, and it really has been jungle versus jungle here in this series as well.
We called that in the pregame. It was really about the mid laners canceling each other out and which jungler could then carry the 2v2 forward. This time it is Tian, and look at that gold lead. It's ballooned to over 3K now.
I mean, cancelling the mid laners out, Doinb's been accelerated, so he's cancelled out Yagao for sure. And for the first time, I can't believe I'm seeing Yagao's Zoe falter in this matchup. It's just a testament to Doinb and how good he is. In that fight, the Righteous Glory as well. Let's note that paid off for itself, but I don't even think we're going to get time to talk. Ulti out. Chains of Corruption, but JDG just back away.
It was an interesting one. They saw Ryze in the top side, decided to push their luck, but LWX was not moving. No summoners, no problem. Just instantly throws the Chains of Corruption, and JD Gaming are like, you know what, buddy? You won here. You win this one.
Whew. That's what happens when you have a Righteous Glory with Aftershock. And you mix in a bit of Demolish. FPX pick up another turret. Oh no, Realm Warp's coming in. Who's in it? It's Doinb. Observer's like, should we follow it? Well, yes, you should. But the Dragon's Rage comes out. They find Doinb, but he's so tanky. Tian's still in the back line. Void Rush available as here comes GimGoon from front to back. Finds one onto Zoom. Everyone's still alive on JDG, but that'll be enough to force them out. Get the Maiden. Goodbye, Julia. It was nice knowing you. FPX are going to continue forward.
And they're going to snowball this inhibitor for sure. Yagao's so low
Tian,
at this
Void
point.
Rush! Arrgh, me matey. Tian just finds one like a pirate on the sea. FPX continue to pillage, take everything. It's theirs. There is no such thing as JDG right now. 2 members dead and an inhibitor follow.
JD Gaming actually have to be very careful. If they get another pick right here, it's just the game.
I mean, they have the Baron buff. FPX are charging towards that Nexus, looking to stamp down JDG. They get locked down, flashed on, Flawless dead again. Tian has run amok this series. Doinb's followed him. LWX there for cool guy plays. And for FPX, their chaotic style came into this game number 3 and shut down JDG's hope.
In a blink of an eye, FPX wrestled back control of the game. They were only ahead by 2,000 gold, but pick after pick in the top lane where Tian soloed out Imp, another pick in the bot side where the solo lanes found Zoom, and a big finish around the Baron pit where you could see that Black Cleaver doing work, popping triumphs left and right like confetti in the air, and FPX take the series 2-1. They still have more to go, but it's a great step forward.
Seems like a party, Clement. If you're bringing confetti into the mix, throw the balloons up. Game number 3 for FPX was just that child's 3rd birthday. And let me tell you, Zoom was in the corner. I don't know who's bullying him. but there was no chance to get involved with the other party members.
And just look at how fast things got out of control. That was FPX's tempo at work. We call Tian the master of tempo in the LPL because he follows up his pathing so well, and he finds those kills so good as so quickly as well.
Yep.
He has the second highest damage share of any jungler in the LPL, and you can see him when he really wants to hard carry, he goes for it.
He really does. That was such a good lead built up by Tian. And for FPX, more of the playstyle that we know and love. And although Doinb didn't make his way to the bottom lane as much as we expect in the standard FPX game, it was good to see Tian's pathing change towards that top side. Straight away, put Zoom under pressure.
Yeah, he had 10,000k damage. Well, not 10,000k, but 10,000 damage over.
I mean, it felt like it, Clement. That's all right.
It wasn't a million. It wasn't a million, but it was 10,000 damage over the opposing Lee Sin. And I really think his early pathing was what did the trick.
Yep.
He held on to the Krugs from Flawless the entire way. He got both Krugs in the first rotation. That was a strong start, and then he just held on. Once JD Gaming started to slip up, they realized, wait a minute, Rek'Sai was way too far ahead.
So JD Gaming, they had their condition down on the bottom side. Imp looked great again for the 1v2 that was left over, and Chris trying to recover it. Imp stayed alive and brought JDG to some semblance of power, but not enough there. FPX take the lead in the series and now on match point. It was a long-winded game. I'm curious to see how it's broken down over on our analyst desk.
Thank you, Hysterics, and that breakdown's going to begin quite easily here. We're going to just start from pick ban, roll it through, because that's where some of the interesting things from this series have started developing, especially towards that Braum in the bottom lane.
First of all, I would like to say about the Morgana ban again by Homing. And also, we predicted that Sylas is too strong, then we have to ban it all the time. But I really think that both teams are really eager to try to snatch the Braum earlier. But I don't really agree of getting Ashe with Galio, because Ashe is really good against poke champions, and is really good with Braum and Tahm Kench. But when it is with Galio, we can see that even Rek'Sai can solo kill him. Every champion is a threat to him. So I really think that if we want to have Galio support, it is better to have Tristana AD and also have Kalista AD. And I have also a question about on the Yorick against Cannon, because in game 1 we see that GimGoon Cannon is destroying, and this game he is doing really well too. And even with Zoom's Yorick counter pick, but remember there's a level 4 dive. You pick something counter and enemy can still push your lane. And I think Grasp will be better, because he would have survived if he had Grasp.
Yeah, and one concern that I had for FPX here is because when they went towards Rise and the jungle option that really gave them the 2v2 edge, and I thought the 2v2 would be fine for them, but there's always that in the back of your mind, there's a lot of pick potential coming off the side from JDG. They had the Ashe that you had mentioned. Zoe, if he's able to get the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, can really change the shift and tie to the battle through mid lane. But then what we got to see was the Merc Treads picked up really early from Rise. And so for me, I was like, I'm concerned, because what we're seeing from a lot of people around the world is that we're going towards Lost Chapter a lot more early on, so he has the damage and can actually push the wave a lot more earlier on. There's also just early tier, so you can scale more effectively. But then made it so Sleepy Trouble Bubble wouldn't then just turn into a max damage Paddle Star, right? He had the ability to just essentially dodge it early on. And then there was actually just so many points in these fights where the Merc Treads early helped him out with the Ashe ultimate that came through. So that was a nice pickup just based off of how effective it was in these fights.
And instead of seeing those long drawn-out fights with the poke, instead we ended up seeing these fights where, for example, GimGoon just dives in, gets the ultimate on so many people, and just shuts down JDG.
So, like, this was, you already mentioned, the fact that this actually took so long to get the kill on the Doinb. And they had expended so much, even the Lee Sin kick, to get the job done. So yeah, allowed GimGoon to just jump in, get the max damage across. And I think that if we're looking towards FPX and seeing how they were going to be able to pick up the win, it was through GimGoon's, the cannon pick that he had. And also just how much experience that we saw Rek'Sai picking up for himself. He was nearly 2 levels ahead, just based off of the raw farming. Even though Lee Sin had a lot of help towards the bottom side of the map, he was just losing out on Krugs. A lot of it was just made it so he was actually just a full item behind. Near the end of the game, Lee Sin had the Black Cleaver, while Rek'Sai had him for himself Black Cleaver and GA, and so he was a lot more willing to look for dive opportunities.
Yeah, I remember I was saying to you guys that, this game Flawless will be really ahead, because when they tried to dive Yorick, right, and he died. the jungle, Tian.
Yes,
dead.
yes.
But I really like Tian and the whole team's communication. I can imagine that Tian is saying, hey, bot lane, play safe, I will farm. And he was really literally farming everything. And Lee Sin is like, okay, maybe Tian come gank. I saw that when Lee Sin tried to start the Ocean Drake, his CS is 22, while Rek'Sai is 40.
Yeah, it was fun that FPX were able to just simplify the game to just that, right? Where it was just literally about mid lane and jungle, to the point where you were starting to see dual lane start matching. So even though the FPX dual lane went topside and was rotating, they were faster on the push on that one. It was actually just Doinb saying that I'm not going to be going topside to secure deeper vision. The Rek'Sai actually has a good enough position there. He went bottom side to take out blue buff. He went bottom side again after the next clear mid lane to be able to try. He did get the dive and kill on the split push on Zoom as well. So there was just such a large lead, and it just felt like essentially Doinb was just hunting for kills. So I like that FPX really just nullified this lead that you got to see from Lee Sin early on.
We have saw already 2 games of Rise by Doinb, and I'm predicting that game 4, the whole draft will be different. For example, I guess Coach Home will grabbing Syndra very early.
Yeah.
And to just test, okay, Doinb, you are grabbing Rise for 2 times. Are you confident getting the 3rd time? And also, if he doesn't pick Syndra early on, I think he should just pick Syndra after FPX got Rise, and to test GimGoon, can you play Rise top?
Yeah.
I think one of the strongest moments there in that series was definitely the team fight after FPX had already lost a member. They lost GimGoon, and suddenly they're able to take a 4 versus 5 fight and win at the very end. That was so absolutely insane.
Yeah, I kind of called it out. But legitimately, how Chris was playing throughout this series, it was rough for him. He was having tough times in the bottom side, even earlier on in this game with the 2v2. Brought up the door, made it much harder for JDG to just push through the terrain here. So if you're looking at this from JDG's point of view, their lens of being able to take this fight, that's actually so hard to be able to take it with how much it was funneling them through. And now suddenly Rise had the ability to push through. Of course, Tian was just so fed in this game. So when the team fights came through, he was able to dive so easily. No wonder he picks up MVP in this game.
Yep, Tian just so unbelievably strong. We even saw him get a solo kill this game on the Rek'Sai, just ridiculous.
Yeah, he just randomly, he was top side, he found the Ashe alone, and even though Galio ultimate was coming in to save him, of course, it just takes too long for the Galio to make his grand entrance.
Just beautiful from them. And what are we looking for going into game number 4? We've talked a little bit about the adaptations of the pick ban phase, but is there anything else you want to see from JDG for them to claw their way back in the series so that FPX don't take the 3-1?
We can observe that the game 2, I remember when Tian was getting Olaf early, and the immediate response by Flawless is the Kindred.
Yes.
So I'm, how do I say, I think game 4 will be this again. Home will trying to counterpick jungle, because I was suggesting him to grab Syndra early, right? So there's a window to counter jungle. And we can see that when Flawless is getting early Lee Sin, and also FPX coach Warhorse is like, okay, Rek'Sai for you.
Yeah.
So I think both teams have better performance in jungle when they are picking later.
Yeah, I think these junglers have actually just been so effective when they've had the ability to push through, right? One of the leads that Rek'Sai, the Renekton in the earlier matchup had, when GimGoon had the advantage, as you already mentioned, the ability to just take the matchup consistently going up against Sylas, but then suddenly, Tian on that Kindred pick had so much pressure topside, so it didn't matter how the draft turned out for them. So I think you're right. Going into the next draft, I want to see what the jungle matchup's going to look like.
Jungle matchup, top lane matchup, all these things got to be in contention for this potentially series-ending game. We'll be back with game number 4 in just a few minutes. Stick around.